Sometimes a garden doesn't feel like something you visit. It feels like coming home. Somewhere you don't just appreciate the natural world, but where you actually feel a part of it. And that's exactly what this Wellbeing Garden has been made for. Today, I'm learning what goes into designing a garden that makes you feel something. I'm at Royal Botanic Gardens, Victoria, an important source of green refuge for the city of Melbourne. And nestled right in the heart of the gardens is the Fern Gully. Andrew Laidlaw is the landscape architect behind the design here. I always enjoy this remarkable Fern Gully. It's so full of life.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place, and you know, it's probably one of the coolest places close to Melbourne. It's sometimes 3 to 4 degrees cooler than the outside temperature.
It's just lush, isn't it? And what are these little pathways going down here?
Yes, well, this is a public access path and it's quite busy. So what the little pathways take you to, Jane, is 3 health and wellbeing gardens, which allow people to get off the main track and have a more intimate experience in these sort of almost meditation gardens.
Ooh, lovely. Let's go, have a look.
This is our moss garden.
It has that real feeling of calm.
Yeah, yeah.
And then what are the elements that you try to get into the Wellbeing Gardens?
Being surrounded by that green is just so important, being sort of wrapped and enclosed by that greenery, and we were so far ahead of the game by doing it in the Fern Gully. That gave us that one. The other thing that's really important, and there's science that backs this up, but it's the diversity. So not these monocultures that we see in a lot of our institutional gardens and things. So there's diversity in here, and there's real interest. And when people feel diversity, it's like, well, the insects are being looked after, and all the other creatures in the world are being looked after. And that's so important because we have to realise that it's not all about us. And in a health and wellbeing garden or a meditation garden, what we're trying to evoke here is that you're just a part of something much bigger. So as a designer, I was lucky enough to work with a donor, and for all 3 gardens, we had these very generous donors, but all of them have these incredible stories of loss. And this particular one was about a man who had lost his wife and his daughter in the same year. And these stones represent those 2 women and himself in that family group. And this is really our key piece, but this is, and it's called the Mother Stone, and it was crafted by an artisan or an artist called a Shika. But it is a wellspring, and it's just that continual, eternal moving of the water, and it's just such a positive thing. And whether there's death or life, just this wellspring continues to give, and that's a very strong symbol in a contemplative garden. Welcome to our bird's nest.
The bird's nest.
The bird's nest. And this is loosely circular, but that's wrapping around us, so that's the gesture of a nest to be nurtured and to be held.
Yep.
And this space was selected because of that tree. And the symbol there is it's like the tree of life, and starting from its amazing anchor roots and in these buttresses that pull it all the way up. Ooh. And then the nursery, working with the nursery, and we're trying to create these epiphytic plants, and it's holding all of that life.
Ah, it's very good, and even the dendrobium down in the crevice of the buttress roots, it's very, very good. Wow.
Yeah. So again, lucky enough to work with a donor who's had nursed her auntie and lost her auntie, and she shared a really personal experience with her auntie, and they had a love of birds. And that was the stimulus for us to work with bird nest ferns, but also to engage the artist David Wong, and worked with David, and he created the beautiful chrysalis, which is really designed around the nest of a bird. And eventually this will be covered in a little bit of greenery, but this just allows people to come in, be almost more wrapped, and really just sit and contemplate that tree of life. So the other interesting thing about the bird's nest, Jane, is that this is it's a wheelchair-assisted path. So it just allows access around here on the ramp for people in wheelchairs or with a disability to be able to access that space, which is really important.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And such a nice little space. I like how this bamboo sort of forms a nice archway.
Absolutely, and there's this lovely kind of sense of a narrow entrance, and the bamboo accentuates that. And then all of a sudden, this sense of arrival where the space opens out, which is lovely. So this is the third of the Wellbeing Gardens, our Grotto Garden, and it has many of those elements that we've talked about in the other ones. So it's kind of loosely circular, and it's surrounded by this kind of wrapping of green plants. And the symbolism here, Jane, is the grotto, because a grotto has a Christian symbolism, which is where people went and found themselves in that dark, deep nature. But there's also been a language of grottos in botanic gardens, so it kind of made sense to build a grotto.
And then you've put this wonderful feature.
Justin, the artist, worked with us all, and it just gives it a bit of lightness. The sun coming through is really lovely.
I do like that lovely little bit of mosaic there.
That crockery comes from picnickers from here, from over the years of them coming here before plastic was invented. And we have this unique gardener here, David, and he has been collecting the ceramics in the gardens for years and years. He has thousands of pieces, Jane.
I love it.
The story to this garden was that I worked with the donor who'd a story of loss again, and she'd lost her husband, and he had this incredible passion and love for his property in Dunkeld, and he loved the stone. So all the stone for the grotto, all the sitting stones, all came down from the property in Dunkeld. And so that's a lovely connection for their family to be able to come back and sit amongst the stone.
Yeah.
This story's needed to be built into the design, and that's magic.
The stories of love and loss that inspired these gardens are not really public knowledge, and that's because the donors intended these gardens to honour lives and stories beyond just their own. These spaces were designed for everyone to enjoy. When we spend time in nature, we bring our own stories with us, and what a beautiful place to sit and think about them.